Hey, Dr. Samina. So this is my response to Aimé César, the discourse on colonialism. I'm going to kind of just meld both responses together because, like you mentioned and how you pointed out, that it's Cesar's work is just another level, and how you're talking about that one class about how you wanted to introduce other authors and writings before we really dug into these readings, and I understand what you mean. And so the introduction, I don't think I would have understood I don't think I would have maybe understood the discourse on colonialism if it wasn't for the introduction by Kelly. Not in the sense of getting the points, but just in the sense of Kelly just brought out the connections. So what I mean is that the discourse on colonialism might be described as a declaration of war. I would almost call it a third world manifesto, but hesitate because it is primarily a polemic against the old order, bereft of the kind of propositions and proposals that generally accompany manifestos. So I had to learn what polemic means, and how it was kind of defined is that it's a strong confrontational form of writing, and it's meant to challenge, disrupt, and argue against dominant ideas. And throughout the text, not only just in the introduction, but throughout Cesar's points, it was just firm points after each other, and it brought a lot of, I think, wonder, in the sense of like he created, to me, he created visuals of how visceral or how horrible colonization was, and how it turned it became like that idea of thingification. The things, the people that were being colonized became things to be conquered, to be destroyed. They just became objects, and that essentially it wouldn't, maybe they wouldn't have got away with it if it wasn't for the colonization of 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 like when Hitler did what he did, when the colonization wasn't just to colors, it turned inward to so that was kind of eye-opening. And another point is Europe is literally the creation of the third world. Cesar reveals over and over again that the colonizers' sense of superiority, their sense of mission of the world's civilizers, depend on turning the other into a barbarian. Just seeing all the stories, and I wouldn't call them stories in the sense of just to sweep the things that happen to the people, like the black, the yellow, the Indians, but not to discredit those things, but just like I said, that raw, that visceral intent to exterminate and place themselves at the top. And then I think about how Cesar, he talks about now we integrate religion. Now we become complacent in the sense that, oh, God wants us to be happy with what we have. So and now that gap between capitalism and and the colonized, or the colonizer and the colonized, is even, it's spiritually mandated. But there there's a lot of learning and definitions that I had to work through. Um, and in the end, discourse was never intended to be a roadmap or a blueprint for revolution. It is poetry, and therefore revolt. It is an act of insurrection. Um, Discourse offers new insights into the consequences of colonialism and the model for dreaming a way out of post-colonial predicament, while we still need to overthrow all vestiges of the old colonial order. Destroying the old is just half of the battle. So understanding, steps in a way, because there was even that idea of progressive dehumanization, and that understanding was like there's steps to dehumanize a person, a people, and a group. But all of that negativity, all of that how rank, just like rank, like even like that idea of dignification, right? um I do like want to highlight as much as like there's just, like I said, a lot of learning, but also just like raw emotion, raw reality. I don't know if it's because I'm like I've been so um if I've been so impacted in a way where it was that this isn't like, yeah, like colonization was the worst thing that ever happened. And we have lots of stories for us. But anyways, the thing I do want to kind of talk about is how um in the introduction, surrealism provided me with that I had been confusedly searching for. I've accepted it joyfully because in it I have found more of a confirmation than a revelation. Surrealism, he explained, helped him to summon up powerful unconscious forces. This for me was a call to Africa, I said to myself. It's true that specifically we are French, we bear the marks of French customs, we have been branded by Cartesian philosophy, by French rhetoric, but if we break with all that, if we plumb the depths, then what we'll find is fundamentally black. So now that surrealism that I have seen from uh, uh, indigenous perspective, that like I function from a different perspective than a lot of people that I know. I function from, I guess, this idea of having our own nation run by our own people, embedded and ruled by our own laws and languages. Which is interesting because that could even be turned on its head to be like it's just another form of colonization. Um, but we're returning, we're shaking the shackles off of these things that's been bound to us, that's been holding us down, that's been um, not only about the history, but like, oh, you guys see people gotta function this way, whatever. Right? That surrealism to me is coming back to that state of nationhood that people talk about, that is the equivalent to being understood as fundamentally black, fundamentally indigenous, fundamentally Cree. And that's kind of the hope for me, in the midst of how raw and and you know, like I know this is kind of like a touchy subject, or kind of like an interesting subject, but like the barbarism. I've this discourse on colonialism gave me the visual of the barbarianism in the book that um, was written, the Renda, um, by Joseph Boyden. Because in there there's a point where there was a baby tossed in the air, right? And yeah, so like I said, it's there's been, and I don't want to say lots, but like in a sense, it creates a whole different way to think about colonization. And and now that I see an author and his ability to write the way he did, kind of makes me wonder what kind of skills I can do as a writer, or as an author, or as a scholar. Because I wonder where our scholars, indigenous scholars, are equivalent to this. Yes, we have like Leanne Simpson, right? We read that, understood that. But in the sense of naming and wording and giving the imagery of what colonization did, I wonder. And like I said, like I know there's controversy around Joseph Boyden and the Dorinda, but like that, in a way, that was polemic. That was a visual similar to this, but like that was nonfiction, or that was like, right. And but this is fiction. This is real. This is what happened. So, anyways, yeah, yeah. Like I said, just a lot of learning for myself to understand and work through these things. Even the thought of, like I said in class, like I've done masters in undergrad of indigenous education, or decolonization, how it looks. We did a different way. We went a different route than than learning the way we've been learning in this class, and I'm all like, it's all good. Like, I'm all for it, and I really see that it's just not just this one realm, that it's like painted, and it's a whole nother realm of other of like like, well, one class we looked at Franz Fanon's work. We didn't get quite into Cesar, and now I understand, because it could have been a very challenging class if it wasn't taught at at, where I did my master's. If it could have been really challenging if it wasn't being taught the way I think we're handling it very well in this class. So, anyways, that's it. Thank you.